Are your relationships draining you? Hey there, have you ever stopped to think about the people in your life, pause, and how they really make you feel? I mean, we all have those relationships that light us up, that make us feel alive, supported, and truly seen, like a warm hug on a tough day. But what about the ones that leave you feeling drained, small, or even a little lost? Maybe it's a friend who always seems to take more than they give, or a family member whose negativity pulls you down every time you talk. It's easy to brush those feelings aside, to tell yourself, "Oh, that's just how they are," or "I can handle it." But what if I told you that the quality of your relationships might be the single biggest factor in whether you feel truly happy and fulfilled, or stuck in a cycle of stress, frustration, and self-doubt? Today, we're diving into the ancient wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy that's been around for centuries but feels so relevant right now, like it was made for the chaos of our modern lives. Stoicism isn't just about grit and getting through tough times with a clenched jaw, it's so much more than that. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, who respect you, and who help you grow into the best version of yourself. It's about building a life where the people in your corner aren't just along for the ride, they're helping you steer toward peace, purpose, and joy. We're going to explore 12 clear signs that it might be time to rethink some of those relationships in your life, maybe even walk away entirely. Now, this isn't about cutting people off for the sake of drama or burning bridges to make a point. It's about choosing a path that brings you peace, aligns with your deepest values, and helps you live a life that feels truly good, deep down in your core. I've had my share of relationships that left me feeling more empty than full. There was this one friend I used to hang out with all the time. We'd laugh, share stories, but every time I left, I felt heavy. Like I'd been carrying their baggage instead of sharing a connection. It took me a while to realize that wasn't how it should be. Relationships should energize you, not leave you running on empty. The Stoics, these ancient thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, they got this. They believed that the people we keep close should help us live with virtue, things like wisdom, courage, and fairness. If someone's dragging you down instead, it might be time to take a step back and look at things through their lens. So, if you're ready to take a hard look at who's in your corner and learn how to protect your peace, stick with me. This journey isn't about pointing fingers or feeling guilty, it's about empowering yourself to make choices that honor your well-being. We'll walk through those 12 signs together, breaking down what they mean and how to handle them with grace and clarity. I've been where you are, wondering if I'm overreacting or if I should just tough it out. But here's what I've learned: you don't have to settle for relationships that dim your light. You deserve better, and the Stoics can show us how to get there. If you're feeling that spark of curiosity, hit that like button to let me know you're ready for this journey. And if you know someone who might need to hear this, maybe a friend who's been struggling with a tough relationship, share this video with them. Let's spread this wisdom together, because we all deserve to be surrounded by people who make life brighter, not harder. So, grab a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's get started. We're about to see what the Stoics can teach us about building a life surrounded by the right people. People who help us shine, grow, and find the peace we've been craving. Ready? Let's dive in. The Stoic lens: relationships as a path to virtue. Let's take a step back, pause, and imagine we're sitting in ancient Rome, surrounded by thinkers who spent their lives figuring out what it means to live well. Picture the cobblestone streets, the hum of conversation, and these brilliant minds, people like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, gathered to share their ideas. They weren't just about enduring hardship with a stiff upper lip, gritting their teeth through tough times like some Stoic statue. No, they believed that every single part of life, including the people we choose to keep close, should help us grow in wisdom, courage, and kindness. For them, relationships weren't just a casual add-on to your daily routine. They were a key part of living a virtuous life, a cornerstone of what it means to be a good person. Every interaction you have, from a quick chat with a coworker to a deep talk with a loved one, is a chance to practice fairness, to show respect, or to build someone up. It's like a daily workout for your soul, strengthening those qualities that make you who you are. But here's the flip side. Pause. What happens when the people around you don't do the same for you? What if, instead of lifting you up, they're chipping away at your peace, your dignity, or your sense of self? Maybe it's a friend who always seems to have a snarky comment, or a family member who dismisses your feelings like they don't matter. It can start small, a little jab here, a rolled eye there, but over time, it builds up, leaving you feeling less than you deserve. The Stoics would say that's a red flag, a big one. They taught that our inner tranquility, that calm, steady state of mind we all crave, especially on those chaotic days, depends on surrounding ourselves with people who align with our values and support our growth. They saw it as a deliberate choice, not just something that happens by chance. You're not stuck with whoever crosses your path. You get to decide who stays in your circle. I've felt this in my own life, and it wasn't always easy to see at first. I had a friend once who always seemed to put me down, even in small ways, like a backhanded compliment that left me questioning myself. "Oh, nice outfit, for once," they'd say with a smirk, and I'd laugh it off, thinking I was being too sensitive. But over time, I noticed a pattern. After hanging out with them, I'd feel heavy, like I'd lost a piece of my spark. It wasn't dramatic, it was subtle, but it wore me down. That's when it hit me: relationships should lift you up, not drag you down. They should leave you feeling stronger, more yourself, not like you've been carrying someone else's weight. The Stoics would agree. They'd say it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff, dodging the toxic people like they're a storm to run from. It's about actively choosing people who help you live a life of integrity and peace, who challenge you to be better without tearing you apart. So, how do we figure out when a relationship isn't serving that higher purpose? It's not always obvious. Sometimes we cling to people out of habit or loyalty, even when they're holding us back. The Stoics had a way of looking at this with clear eyes, using their principles to guide their choices. They believed that every connection should be a mirror, reflecting the virtues you're trying to live by: wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation. If someone's constantly throwing shade or undermining you, it's like they're smudging that mirror, making it harder to see the best version of yourself. I've learned that the hard way, and it's taken some tough moments to realize when it's time to step back. But the Stoics would say that's okay. It's part of the journey. They'd encourage you to reflect, to ask yourself, does this person help me grow, or are they pulling me off track? That's where we're headed next. Let's dive into the signs, starting with one of the biggest: respect, or the lack of it. Respect is the foundation, the first brick in building a relationship that aligns with Stoic ideals. When it's missing, everything else starts to crumble. So, stick with me as we unpack what that looks like and how to handle it with the grace and wisdom the Stoics would want us to have. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 1. When respect goes missing. Alright, let's talk about respect. Pause, because if there's one thing that's non-negotiable in any relationship, it's got to be this. Respect isn't just a nice to have, it's the foundation that holds everything together, whether it's a friendship, a romantic partnership, or even a working relationship. The Stoics, those ancient thinkers we've been hanging out with, saw respect as a cornerstone of justice, one of their core virtues. For them, justice meant treating others with fairness, dignity, and the kind of courtesy you'd hope to get in return. It's about seeing the inherent worth in every person and acting in a way that honors that worth. Think about how good it feels when someone truly listens to you, values your thoughts, and treats you like you matter. That's respect in action. But what happens when someone in your life consistently treats you like you don't matter at all? Maybe they dismiss your ideas without a second thought, brushing them off like they're not even worth considering. Or perhaps they talk over you, cutting you off mid-sentence as if your voice doesn't deserve space. Worse yet, they might act like your feelings are an inconvenience, like you're being dramatic for even having them. It's a slow, subtle kind of hurt, isn't it? It's like having your dignity chipped away, little by little, piece by piece, until you start to feel smaller than you should. You might not even notice it at first, but over time, it wears you down, making you question your own worth. I've been there, and I know how heavy that can feel. Let me share a story. Pause. I had a coworker once who'd always interrupt me, no matter what I was saying. We'd be in a meeting, and I'd start sharing an idea, only for them to jump in, talking over me like what I had to say wasn't worth hearing. At first, I'd laugh it off, thinking, oh, they're just eager to share. But after a while, it started to sting. Every time it happened, I'd feel this little pang in my chest, like I was being erased. I'd leave those conversations feeling invisible, like my voice didn't matter at all. It wasn't just a one-off, it was a pattern, and it made me dread working with them. The Stoics would say that's a big problem, and not just because it feels bad. They'd say it's a problem because it pulls you away from living a virtuous life. Here's why. Pause. Every time you're disrespected, it's harder to practice the kindness, wisdom, and fairness you're aiming for. The Stoics believed that every interaction is a chance to live out your values, to grow into the person you want to be. But when someone keeps undermining you, It's like they're throwing obstacles in your path, making it tougher to stay true to those principles. You might find yourself getting frustrated, snapping back, or even doubting yourself, all things that pull you away from the calm, grounded person you're trying to become. I noticed that with my coworker. I started getting short-tempered, which isn't like me at all. It was like their disrespect was contagious, dragging me down to a place I didn't want to be. But here's the key. The Stoics wouldn't tell you to lash out or hold a grudge. That's not their way. They'd say to step back, take a deep breath, and look at the situation with clear eyes. Ask yourself, is this relationship helping me be the person I want to be? Is it supporting my growth, my peace, my values? If the answer's no, it might be time to set some boundaries, or even walk away entirely. It's not about pointing fingers or blaming them. It's about protecting your peace and staying true to your principles. I ended up having a calm conversation with that coworker, explaining how I felt, and while things got a bit better, I also learned to limit how much I engaged with them. Sometimes, distance is the kindest choice, for both of you. Speaking of peace, pause. That's a perfect segue into our next sign. How your relationships affect your mental health. Because when disrespect starts to take a toll, it's not just your dignity that suffers, it's your whole sense of well-being. Let's explore that next and see what the Stoics have to say about keeping your mind steady in the face of tough relationships. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 2. When your mental health takes a hit. Let's get real for a second. Pause, because the people we spend time with have a huge impact on how we feel inside, don't they? Whether it's a quick coffee with a friend or a long chat with a family member, those interactions stick with us, shaping our mood and our mindset in ways we don't always notice right away. The Stoics, those wise minds we've been exploring, were all about maintaining tranquility, that calm, steady state of mind that keeps you grounded no matter what's swirling around you. They weren't saying to stuff your emotions down and pretend everything's fine. They just wanted you to manage them wisely, like a captain steering a ship through rough waters. But what happens when someone in your life keeps stirring up anxiety, stress, or even a deep, lingering sadness? Maybe you've got a friend who's always negative, turning every conversation into a dark cloud, or a family member whose drama leaves you feeling drained, like you've just run an emotional marathon. If you're walking away from those interactions feeling worse than before, like your energy's been sucked dry, leaving you hollow, that's a sign something's seriously off. I remember a time when I had a friend who always seemed to be in crisis mode. Every time we talked, it was a whirlwind of complaints. Work was a mess, life was unfair, and the world was against them. I'd listen, trying to be supportive, but I'd end up feeling so heavy, like I was carrying their stress on top of my own. It wasn't just one bad day. It was every time we connected. I'd leave those chats exhausted, wondering why I felt so weighed down when I'd gone in with good intentions. It took me a while to see the pattern, but once I did, I realized it wasn't my job to be their emotional sponge. Seneca, a famous Stoic who knew a thing or two about life's ups and downs, had some thoughts on this. He said we should surround ourselves with people who inspire us, who lift us up with their energy and wisdom, not drag us down into a pit of negativity. He believed that the company we keep shapes our inner world, and if someone's always raining on your parade, it's hard to stay sunny inside. For the Stoics, protecting your mental peace isn't just a nice idea. It's a duty, a responsibility you owe to yourself. They saw tranquility as something to guard fiercely, like a precious treasure, because it's the foundation for living a good life. If someone's constantly making you feel anxious or down, maybe it's that coworker who nitpicks everything you do, or that relative who turns every gathering into a battlefield, it's not about toughing it out with a forced smile. The Stoics wouldn't want you to suffer in silence. They'd say it's about taking action. You've got options here. Maybe that means setting some boundaries, like limiting how often you talk or steering conversations away from their drama. I tried that with my friend, started keeping our chats shorter and lighter, and it helped a little. Or maybe it means stepping back entirely, choosing your well-being over a relationship that's doing more harm than good. I eventually took a break from that friend, and while it wasn't easy, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The Stoics would call that a wise move, a way to reclaim your peace and keep your mind clear. This isn't about cutting people out for fun or holding grudges. It's about recognizing when a relationship is costing you more than it's giving. The Stoics believed that while we can't control everything that happens, we can control who we let into our inner circle. If someone's dragging your mental health down, it's a signal to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, am I thriving with this person, or am I just surviving? Am I able to stay calm and focused, or am I always on edge? That self-awareness is pure Stoic gold. It empowers you to make choices that align with your well-being. And that leads us to another big sign. What happens when your values just don't line up? Because when your core beliefs clash with someone else's, it can shake your peace even more. Let's dive into that next and see what the Stoics have to say about staying true to yourself. Ready? Let's keep moving. Sign 3. When your values clash. Here's something to think about. Pause. Your core values are like a compass, guiding you through life's twists and turns, helping you navigate the messy, unpredictable waves of your journey. They shape your decisions, your goals, everything that makes you, your very essence, the heartbeat of your identity. For me, honesty is huge. It's like the North Star I always come back to. I can't stand when someone bends the truth, even a little, because it feels like a crack in the foundation of trust one rely on. I've always believed that being truthful, even when it's hard, is what keeps relationships real and meaningful. But what happens when someone close to you lives by a totally different set of rules? What do you do when the people you care about don't share that same compass, and their values clash with yours in ways that leave you feeling off balance? The Stoics, those ancient philosophers we've been learning from, were big on harmony and integrity. They believed that true peace, the kind that settles deep in your soul, comes from living in line with rational principles, from aligning your life with virtues like wisdom, justice, and courage. So, when your values clash with someone else's, it's not just a small annoyance you can shrug off with a forced smile. It's more than that. It can throw you off your whole path, like a storm that knocks your compass out of whack. Suddenly, you're second-guessing yourself, wondering if you're the one who's wrong, or feeling torn between staying true to your principles and keeping the relationship intact. That tension can weigh on you, making it harder to move forward with the clarity and confidence you're aiming for. I've been there, and it's a tough spot to be in. Pause. I had a friend once who thought little white lies were no big deal. They'd stretch the truth about small things, why they were late, what they'd been up to, and laugh it off, saying, "It's not a big deal, just a harmless fib." But for me, every one of those lies felt like a betrayal, a tiny fracture in the trust we'd built. I'd feel this tension building inside me, like a knot in my stomach, every time they'd dodge the truth. I'd stay quiet, not wanting to make a fuss, but inside, I felt like I was compromising just by letting it slide. It was like I was betraying my own value of honesty by not speaking up, and that inner conflict started to eat at me. I'd leave our hangouts feeling unsettled, like I wasn't being true to myself, and that's a heavy load to carry. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor who faced his own share of challenges, wrote about surrounding yourself with people who share the virtues you're aiming for, like honesty, kindness, or courage. He believed that the company you keep shapes who you become, acting like a mirror for the qualities you want to cultivate. When those values don't match up, it's hard to grow the way you want to. You might find yourself in constant conflict, those little arguments that keep popping up, or worse, bending your own principles to keep the peace, just to avoid the drama. I started to notice that with my friend. I'd bite my tongue more often, letting their lies slide, and I'd feel a little less like myself each time. The Stoics would say that's a losing game, a battle you can't win without losing a piece of who you are. Instead, they'd encourage you to reflect, pause, take a step back and ask yourself, can you find common ground through honest conversation? Can you talk it out, share what matters to you, and see if there's a way to bridge the gap? I tried that with my friend, sitting them down and explaining why honesty means so much to me. They listened, but the lies didn't stop, and I realized the gap was just too wide. Sometimes, stepping away isn't about judgment. It's about staying true to who you are, honoring your own compass instead of trying to follow someone else's. It wasn't easy to distance myself, but it felt like a weight lifted, like I could breathe easier being me. Next up, let's talk about a feeling we all know too well, being drained, because when a relationship leaves you empty, the Stoics have something to say about that too. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 4. When you're left feeling drained. Let's talk energy for a minute. Pause, because relationships should feel like a two-way street, right? They should leave you feeling refreshed, like you've just had a good laugh with a friend or a heart-to-heart that lifts your spirits, not like you've just run a marathon with no finish line in sight. It's that sense of balance, giving and receiving in a way that keeps you both thriving. The Stoics, those wise voices we've been tuning into, were big on preserving your inner energy, treating it like a precious resource you use wisely to live a good, meaningful life. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, two heavyweights of Stoic thought. Both emphasized that we should be around people who nurture us, who give as much as they take, relationships that feel like a partnership, not a one-person show. But what happens when someone in your life is constantly draining you? Maybe you find yourself dreading the thought of seeing them, or you feel emotionally exhausted after every chat, like you've been wrung out and left to dry. That's a sign the relationship might be out of balance, a warning light flashing on your emotional dashboard. I've been in that spot myself. Pause. I had a family member who'd always unload their problems on me, turning every conversation into a dumping ground for their stress. They'd go on and on about work woes, family drama, you name it, but never once asked how I was doing. I'd sit there, listening with the best intentions, trying to be supportive, but I'd leave those talks feeling like I had nothing left to give. It was like I was pouring all my energy into their cup while mine stayed empty. I'd walk away heavy, my mind buzzing with their troubles, and it took me a while to realize how one-sided it had become. The Stoics would say that's not sustainable. It's like trying to pour from an empty cup, expecting water to magically appear. A relationship should help you grow, spark your curiosity, and fuel your spirit, not leave you running on fumes, barely scraping by. So, what do you do when you find yourself in that draining dynamic? It starts with figuring out why it's happening. Pause. Take a moment to dig into the root of it. Is it one-sided, where you're always the listener and never the one being heard? Are they always negative, turning every interaction into a cloud of gloom? Maybe it's a mix of both, or something else entirely, like they lean on you because they know you'll always be there. I started paying attention to those patterns with my family member, noticing how their complaints never left room for anything else. From there, you can try talking it out. Maybe they don't even realize the impact they're having. I sat down with them once, gently explaining how I felt after our chats, hoping to shift things a bit. They listened, but it didn't change much, and that's okay, it gave me clarity. But if things don't change, the Stoics would say it's okay to step back. This isn't about guilt-tripping them or making a big scene. It's about making space for connections that fill you up, not tear you down. Stepping back might mean setting limits. Maybe you see them less often or keep conversations shorter and lighter. I started doing that, and it helped me reclaim some of my energy. Or it might mean stepping away entirely, choosing your well-being over a relationship that's doing more harm than good. I didn't cut that family member off completely, but I scaled back, and it felt like a weight lifted. The Stoics would see this as a wise move, a way to protect your inner peace and use your energy for what truly matters: growth, virtue, and joy. It's not selfish, it's self-care, a recognition that you deserve relationships that nourish you, not deplete you. That brings us to a darker side of relationships: manipulation. Pause, because when someone's draining you, it might not always be unintentional. Sometimes, it's a calculated move, and the Stoics had strong words for that too. Let's explore what that looks like and how to handle it next. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 5. When manipulation creeps in. Now, this one's a toughie. Pause, because manipulation can be sneaky, slithering into your life in ways you don't even notice at first. It's the opposite of everything the Stoics stood for, and they were pretty firm about how to live well. They were all about authenticity and clarity, seeing the world as it really is, not twisted by someone else's agenda or hidden motives. For the Stoics, living a good life meant grounding yourself in truth, making decisions based on reason and what's real, not on illusions or distortions. But when someone's manipulating you, they're messing with your reality, trying to control you for their own gain. It's like they're rewriting the script of your life, casting themselves as the director while you're left playing a role you didn't sign up for. Maybe they guilt-trip you into doing things you don't want to, saying things like, "If you really cared, you'd do this for me." Or perhaps they gaslight you, making you question your own memory, like when they insist, "That's not what I said," even though you know it is. It's as if they're pulling strings behind the scenes, and you're left feeling confused, doubting yourself, wondering if you're the one who's got it all wrong. I've been there, and let me tell you, it's a mind-bender. Pause. I once dated someone who'd always twist my words, making me feel like I was the problem even when I knew I wasn't. We'd have a disagreement, and I'd try to explain how I felt, but they'd flip it around, saying things like, "You're just too sensitive," or "You're making a big deal out of nothing." At first, I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I was overreacting. But it kept happening, over and over, until I started second-guessing everything. I'd replay conversations in my head, trying to figure out what really happened, and it was exhausting. I'd walk away from those moments feeling like I couldn't trust my own thoughts, like I was losing my grip on what was real. It wasn't just tiring, it was disorienting, like being stuck in a fog where nothing made sense anymore. I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until I noticed I was quieter, more hesitant, not myself at all. The Stoics would say that's a huge red flag. Pause. Because manipulation clouds your ability to make clear, rational decisions, which is central to their philosophy. They believed that to live a virtuous life, you need to see things as they are, without distortions or tricks muddying the waters. When someone's manipulating you, they're not just messing with your head, they're pulling you away from the clarity and honesty you need to grow in wisdom and integrity. It's like they're putting up a smokescreen, making it impossible to navigate your path with confidence. I felt that with my ex. It was like I couldn't make decisions without doubting myself, and that's no way to live. So, how do you handle it when manipulation creeps in? The Stoics have some solid advice here. Pause. First, get clear on the truth. Hold tight to your values, like a lifeline, and don't let their tactics sway you. For me, that meant reminding myself that my feelings were valid, even if they tried to convince me otherwise. Next, set firm boundaries. Call out those sneaky signs, like guilt-tripping or blaming, and let them know you're not playing that game. I started doing that, calmly pointing out when I felt manipulated, and it helped me reclaim some control. But if it keeps happening, if they keep twisting your reality, the Stoics would say it's time to step away. It's not about drama or starting a fight. It's about protecting your ability to live honestly and freely, to keep your mind clear for the life you want to build. I had to walk away from that relationship, and while it was hard, I felt like I could finally breathe again, like the fog had lifted. That leads us to another big foundation of any relationship: trust. Pause, because when manipulation erodes your sense of reality, it often takes trust down with it. Let's explore what that looks like and how the Stoics would guide us through it next. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 6. When trust breaks down. Let's talk about trust. Pause, because without it, what's a relationship even built on? Trust is the bedrock, the solid ground that lets you feel safe enough to be yourself, to share your hopes, fears, and dreams without worrying they'll be thrown back in your face. The Stoics, those ancient guides we've been journeying with, saw trust as a key part of justice, one of their core virtues. For them, justice meant being fair, honest, and reliable in how you treat others, showing up as someone others can count on. It's what lets you be open, vulnerable, and real with someone, whether it's a friend, a partner, or a family member. Trust creates a space where you can let your guard down, knowing the other person has your back. But when trust is missing, everything feels shaky, like you're walking on a tightrope with no safety net. Maybe you're always wondering if they're being straight with you, second-guessing their words or intentions. Or perhaps you're scared they'll let you down again, leaving you hesitant to lean on them when you need to. That suspicion and fear, it eats away at the connection, turning closeness into distance, leaving you guarded instead of truly connected. I felt that shaky ground myself. Pause. I had a friend who'd promised to show up for plans, but they'd flake every time. We'd plan to grab dinner or catch a movie, and I'd be there, waiting, only to get a last-minute text, or sometimes nothing at all. At first, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, thinking, life happens, maybe they're just busy. But it kept happening, over and over, until I realized I couldn't rely on them anymore. I'd feel this mix of disappointment and frustration bubbling up, wondering why I kept setting myself up to be let down. It wasn't just about the missed plans, it was the message it sent, that I couldn't count on them, that my time and feelings didn't matter enough for them to follow through. Over time, I started pulling back, keeping things surface level because I didn't trust them with the deeper stuff anymore. The Stoics would say that's a problem, a big one. They believed relationships should be a space where trust grows, where you both show up with honesty and reliability, not where trust withers away, leaving you both worse off. So, what do you do when trust starts to crumble? The Stoics have a practical approach here. Pause. Start by looking at yourself. Are you being as honest and dependable as you can? It's easy to point fingers, but the Stoics would say to check your own actions first. I had to ask myself if I was clear about my expectations with that friend, or if I'd been letting things slide too long. Then, talk it out. Calmly explain how their actions make you feel, without accusing or attacking. I did that with my friend, sitting them down one day and saying, "Hey, when you cancel last minute, it makes me feel like I can't count on you, and that hurts." They apologized, and for a while, things got better. But the Stoics also knew that trust isn't a one-way street. It takes both people showing up. If trust keeps getting broken, if the flakiness or dishonesty doesn't stop, they'd say it's time to rethink things. Sometimes, that means setting boundaries. Maybe you don't make plans with them anymore, or you lower your expectations to protect yourself. Other times, it might mean stepping back entirely. I ended up seeing that friend less often, focusing on people who showed up consistently, and it felt like a relief. The Stoics would say you deserve relationships where you feel secure, not stuck in a cycle of doubt and disappointment. You're not being petty by wanting reliability. You're honoring your own worth and the kind of connections you want in your life. Trust is what lets relationships flourish, and without it, you're just treading water, hoping for something that might never come. And speaking of things that break trust, pause. Let's move to a serious red flag: abuse. Because when trust is shattered by harm, whether it's emotional, verbal, or physical, the Stoics would have a very clear stance on what to do next. Let's dive into that and see how they'd guide us through such a heavy situation. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 7. When abuse enters the picture. This one's heavy, pause, but we can't skip it, because it's too important to ignore. The Stoics were crystal clear on this. Abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, or verbal, has no place in a virtuous life. They believed, deep in their core, that every person deserves to be treated with worth and respect, like a fundamental human right that should never be crossed. For them, anything less than that is a violation, a direct attack on the dignity and value every individual holds. If someone in your life is hurting you, whether it's with words that cut deep, leaving invisible scars, actions that scare you and make you feel unsafe, or even just constant belittling that chips away at your confidence, it's not something to endure, no matter how much you care about them. The Stoics wouldn't see putting up with harm as a badge of honor. They'd see it as a betrayal of your own worth, a compromise of the principles they held dear. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic thinkers, talked about keeping your inner citadel strong, a safe space in your mind that no one can touch, no matter what's happening around you. It's like an unshakable fortress where your peace, your values, and your sense of self live, protected from the chaos of the outside world. Abuse, in any form, tries to break that down, to breach those walls and leave you vulnerable. It's not just about the immediate pain, it's about the way it erodes your ability to feel secure in who you are. The Stoics would say you've got to protect that citadel at all costs, because it's the foundation of your strength and your ability to live a good life. They'd urge you to see abuse for what it is, a violation of everything they stood for: justice, kindness, and respect, and to take action to shield yourself from it. I've seen this play out in someone close to me. Pause. A friend who stayed in a relationship where their partner constantly tore them down. They'd hear things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You'll never do better than me," over and over, until they started to believe it. My friend would shrug it off, saying, "That's just how they are," as if that made it okay, as if love meant accepting cruelty. But that's not okay, not even a little. I'd watch them shrink over time, their laughter fading, their confidence crumbling, and it broke my heart. The Stoics would say you don't have to put up with it. It's not a test of strength to endure harm, it's a test of courage to walk away. Staying in a situation that hurts you doesn't make you noble. It risks everything the Stoics valued, like your dignity, your peace, and your ability to live virtuously. I kept encouraging my friend to see their own worth, to recognize that they deserved better, and eventually, they found the strength to leave, but it wasn't easy. If you're facing abuse, the first step is to distance yourself, fast. Pause. Don't wait, don't second guess. Whether it's a partner, a friend, or even a family member, your safety and well-being come first. Reach out to people you trust, friends who'll listen without judgment, family who'll support you, or even professionals like counselors or helplines who can help you stay safe. I helped my friend connect with a therapist, and having that support made all the difference for them. This isn't about revenge or bitterness. It's not about holding a grudge or getting even. It's about choosing your well-being and dignity over a situation that's hurting you, about reclaiming the space to heal and grow. The Stoics would see this as an act of wisdom and courage, a way to honor your inner citadel and keep it strong. Next, let's talk about growth. Pause, because relationships should help you become your best self, not hold you back or break you down. The Stoics believed that the people in your life should lift you up, supporting you as you strive to live with virtue and purpose. Let's explore what that looks like and how to recognize when it's missing. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 8. When growth stops. Here's something the Stoics loved to talk about. Pause. Growth. They saw life as a constant chance to get better, to learn, to stretch yourself into someone wiser, kinder, and more resilient with every step you take. For them, it wasn't about reaching some perfect endpoint. It was about the journey, the daily opportunity to refine who you are. And relationships. They're supposed to help with that. The Stoics believed that the people in your life should be partners in that growth, not just bystanders watching from the sidelines. Seneca and Epictetus, two brilliant Stoic minds, talked about something called synergia, working together to lift each other up, like two climbers roped together, each pulling the other toward the summit. A good relationship challenges you to step out of your comfort zone, supports you when you stumble, and helps you grow into the person you want to be. Someone who embodies virtues like courage, wisdom, and compassion. It's a dynamic dance, where both of you push and pull in a way that makes you better together. But what happens when that's not happening? Pause. Maybe you feel stuck, like you're spinning your wheels in the same old mud, not moving forward at all. Or perhaps the other person isn't cheering you on, there's no encouragement, no spark to light your ambition. Instead of feeling inspired, you might notice a quiet stagnation setting in, a sense that you're plateauing while the world keeps turning. It could be a friend who's content to stay in the same rut, or a partner who doesn't care about your dreams. That lack of growth can creep up on you, leaving you wondering why you don't feel as alive as you used to. The Stoics would say that's a problem. Relationships should be a space where you both help each other aim higher, where the connection fuels your progress, not holds it back. I've been in that kind of situation myself. Pause. I had a friend group once where no one really pushed each other. We'd just hang out, complain about work or life, and settle into the same old patterns. Pizza nights, same stories, same gripes. It felt comfortable, like a cozy blanket on a cold day, and for a while, that was enough. But over time, I realized I wasn't growing. I wasn't learning new things, facing new challenges, or becoming the person I wanted to be. We weren't lifting each other up, we were just treading water, keeping each other company in a stagnant pool. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either, and I started to feel this quiet restlessness, like I was missing out on something bigger. The Stoics would say that's a red flag. Relationships should be a catalyst for growth, a place where you both stretch toward virtue and purpose, not a cozy trap that keeps you stuck. So, what do you do when you sense that growth has stopped? The Stoics offer a thoughtful path forward. Pause. Start by talking. Open up about your goals, the things you want to achieve, or the person you're aiming to become, and ask for their support. See if they're willing to grow with you, to join you on that upward climb. I tried that with my friend group, suggesting we try new activities or share some personal goals to inspire each other. Some were open to it, but others weren't, and that's when I saw the divide. If they're holding you back, maybe they dismiss your ambitions or resist change, or if there's no mutual encouragement where you're the only one pushing forward, it might be time to step away. This isn't about abandoning people or throwing them under the bus. It's about choosing connections that help you flourish, that align with the Stoic vision of a life well lived. I started spending more time with people who challenged me, who cheered my progress, and it felt like a breath of fresh air, like I could finally stretch my wings. That brings us to another imbalance: selfishness. Pause. Because when growth stalls, it's often tied to someone putting their own needs first, leaving little room for your development. Let's explore what that looks like and how the Stoics would guide us through it next. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 9. When selfishness takes over. Let's talk about balance. Pause. Because relationships should feel fair, right? They should have that sweet rhythm where both people feel seen, valued, and supported, like a dance where each partner moves in harmony with the other. The Stoics, those wise guides we've been following, were all about reciprocity, giving and taking in a way that feels good for both people, creating a connection that lifts you both up. They believed in generosity, fairness, and looking out for each other's well-being as much as your own, seeing it as a cornerstone of living a virtuous life. For them, a relationship wasn't just about what you can get, it was about what you can give, too, building a mutual bond that strengthens everyone involved. But what happens when someone's always putting themselves first, turning that dance into a solo act? Maybe they only call when they need something, a favor, a ride, a shoulder to cry on, or they never consider your feelings, brushing them aside like they don't matter. That kind of selfishness throws everything off, leaving you feeling resentful instead of connected, like you're giving your all to a friendship that's leaving you empty-handed. I've felt that imbalance firsthand. Pause. I had a friend who'd always expect me to drop everything for them. If they needed help moving, I was there with boxes in hand. If they were upset, I'd listen for hours. But when I needed support, when I was the one struggling or just wanted to share something big, they were nowhere to be found. I'd reach out, hoping for that same care, only to get a vague excuse or radio silence. It felt so one-sided, like I was pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it, and over time, I started to pull back. Resentment crept in, souring the good memories we'd had, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being taken for granted. It wasn't just annoying, it hurt, because I'd always shown up for them without hesitation. The Stoics would say that's the right move to step back. They believed relationships should be a two-way street, a shared path where both people contribute, not a one-way drain that leaves you depleted and unappreciated. So, what do you do when selfishness starts tipping the scales? The Stoics offer a thoughtful way forward. Pause. Try talking it out. Approach it with a calm heart, explaining how their actions make you feel without pointing fingers or escalating into a fight. Maybe they don't even realize the impact they're having. Sometimes people get caught up in their own world and need a gentle nudge to see the bigger picture. I did that with my friend, sitting them down one day and saying, "Hey, I love being there for you, but it feels uneven when I need you and you're not around. Can we work on that?" They listened, and for a little while, things shifted. They'd check in more, show up when I asked. But the Stoics also knew that change isn't guaranteed. If the selfishness keeps going, if they keep taking without giving, they'd say it's okay to walk away. It's not about holding a grudge or being petty. It's about recognizing your worth and choosing balance over a relationship that leaves you feeling used. You deserve that balance, that sense of fairness where your efforts are matched, where you're not left carrying the load alone. The Stoics would see walking away as an act of self-respect, a way to protect your energy and invest it in connections that honor the reciprocity they valued. I eventually scaled back with that friend, focusing on people who met me halfway, and it felt like a weight lifted. It wasn't easy, there was guilt at first, but it opened space for relationships that felt mutual and fulfilling. The Stoics would applaud that choice, encouraging you to seek out bonds that reflect their ideals of justice and generosity, not ones that drain your spirit. Next up, let's talk about how you're talking, or not talking. Pause, because the words you share or don't share can make or break a relationship's balance. The Stoics had a lot to say about communication, and we'll dive into that next to see how it fits into this journey. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 10. When communication turns toxic. Communication, it's the lifeblood of any relationship, right? Pause. It's the thread that weaves two people together, whether you're sharing laughter with a friend, hashing out plans with a partner, or just catching up with a family member. When it's good, it feels effortless, like a warm current carrying you closer. But the Stoics, those ancient thinkers we've been leaning on, had a deeper take. They believed our words should reflect our values: kindness, fairness, and wisdom. They wanted us to speak in ways that build people up, not tear them down, seeing every conversation as a chance to practice virtue and strengthen our bonds. Your words should be a bridge, connecting you to others with understanding and respect, not a wall that divides. But what happens when communication goes sour? Maybe someone's always criticizing you, pointing out your flaws like they're keeping score. Or they throw sarcasm your way, those sharp little jabs disguised as humor, leaving you stung. Perhaps they belittle your ideas, dismissing your thoughts with a smirk or an eye roll. That kind of negativity doesn't just hurt in the moment. It chips away at the trust and respect that hold a relationship together, eroding the foundation bit by bit until you're left feeling disconnected and raw. I felt that sting myself. Pause. I had a relative who'd always make snarky comments about my choices, like my career path or hobbies. I'd share something I was excited about, maybe a new project I was working on or a hobby I'd picked up, and they'd respond with, "Oh, you're still doing that? Don't you think it's time to get serious?" Their tone dripped with sarcasm, and it always landed like a punch to the gut. At first, I'd brush it off, thinking they were just teasing, but it kept happening, and I started to dread talking to them. Every conversation felt like walking through a minefield. I'd brace myself for the next jab, wondering what I'd say to set them off. It wasn't just annoying, it made me feel small, like my passions and choices didn't matter. The Stoics would say that's not okay. Our words should lift each other up, even when we disagree, creating a space where both people can thrive, not shrink. So, what can you do when communication turns toxic like that? The Stoics offer a wise, grounded approach. Pause. Start by focusing on your own words. Before you point fingers, Make sure you're speaking with kindness and clarity, reflecting the values you want to see. I had to check myself with that relative. Sometimes I'd snap back defensively, which only made things worse. So I worked on staying calm, choosing my words carefully to keep things constructive. Then, try to shift the dynamic. Listen actively, really hear where they're coming from, and aim to understand rather than argue. Address issues without blame, focusing on how their words make you feel. I tried that, saying, "Hey, when you make those comments, it feels like you're putting me down, and that hurts." They didn't always hear me, but it opened the door to better conversations sometimes. But if the negativity keeps coming, if they keep criticizing, mocking, or dismissing you, and it's dragging you down, the Stoics would say it's time to protect your peace. They valued tranquility as a cornerstone of a good life, and they'd urge you to guard it fiercely. Sometimes, that means stepping back, choosing tranquility over constant conflict. I had to limit my time with that relative, keeping our talks short and surface level to avoid the snark, and it helped me feel lighter, more grounded. The Stoics would see that as a wise choice, not running away, but prioritizing your well-being over a dynamic that's tearing you apart. That leads us to another big sign. When your needs are ignored, pause, because toxic communication often goes hand in hand with someone overlooking what you need to feel valued and respected. The Stoics had a lot to say about honoring your own worth, and we'll explore that next to see how it fits into this journey. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 11. When your needs don't matter. Let's talk about your needs. Pause, because you matter, and the Stoics would agree, nodding from their ancient perch with a firm, absolutely. They were big on self-respect and harmony, believing that healthy relationships are built on mutual care, a kind of give and take that feels like a warm embrace on both sides. That means your needs, your boundaries, your feelings, the things that keep you grounded and whole, should be honored, not brushed off like they're an afterthought. It's about creating a space where both people feel seen and valued, where you're not just a supporting character in someone else's story, but a co-star with your own lines to speak. The Stoics saw this as essential to living a virtuous life, because how can you grow in wisdom and kindness if you're constantly pushed aside, your voice drowned out? But what happens when someone consistently ignores what you need? Maybe they overstep your boundaries, barging into your personal space, emotional or physical, without a second thought. Perhaps they make decisions without asking, acting like your input doesn't count, or they dismiss your feelings entirely, treating them like an inconvenience. It's like they're saying you don't matter, and that can leave you feeling invisible, like a ghost in your own life, fading into the background. I felt that invisibility myself. Pause. I had a friend who'd always push me to do things I wasn't comfortable with, like going out to loud, crowded places when I really needed a quiet night in to recharge. I'd tell them, "I'm not up for it tonight, I just need some calm," but they'd brush off my no like it didn't mean anything, saying, "Oh, come on, don't be boring, you'll have fun." At first, I'd cave, thinking I should just go along to keep the peace, but I'd come home drained, frustrated, and honestly a little resentful. It wasn't just about the plans, it was the message behind it. My needs, my comfort, didn't seem to register on their radar. Over time, I started feeling like I was shrinking in that friendship, like my voice wasn't worth hearing. The Stoics would say that's a problem, a big one. They'd argue that it's not selfish to want your needs respected. It's self-care, a vital part of honoring your own worth and keeping your inner harmony intact. You're not asking for too much by wanting to be heard. You're asking for the bare minimum of a healthy relationship. So, how do you handle it when someone keeps ignoring your needs? The Stoics would guide you with their calm, rational approach. Pause. Start by being clear. Tell them what you need and why it matters, laying it out with honesty and without apology. I tried that with my friend, sitting them down one evening and saying, "Hey, when I say I need a quiet night, it's not just a preference, it's what keeps me balanced. Can you respect that next time?" Be specific, because sometimes people don't realize the impact of their actions until you spell it out. They might nod, they might even agree, but the Stoics would also say to watch what happens next. If they keep ignoring you, if they keep pushing, dismissing, or acting like your needs are a burden, it's a sign the relationship isn't aligned with the mutual care they valued. In that case, the Stoics would say it's time to rethink the relationship entirely. It's not about being dramatic or holding a grudge. It's about recognizing that you deserve to be around people who value you, who see your needs as important, not ones who make you feel small or insignificant. I ended up pulling back from that friend, setting firmer boundaries and spending more time with people who listened when I spoke up. It felt liberating, like I was reclaiming my voice. The Stoics would see that as a win, a step toward a life where your relationships reflect the harmony and respect they championed. That brings us to our final sign, accountability, or the lack of it. Pause, because when your needs aren't honored, it often ties to someone not taking responsibility for their actions. Let's explore that next and see what the Stoics have to say about it. Ready? Let's keep going. Sign 12. When accountability disappears. Last one. Pause. Let's talk about accountability, because it's the glue that keeps relationships strong, the invisible thread that holds everything together when the going gets tough. The Stoics believed we should own our actions, take responsibility when we mess up, and make things right, seeing it as a cornerstone of living with integrity. That goes both ways in a relationship. It's about mutual trust and respect, where both people step up and own their part, creating a bond that can weather any storm. Accountability isn't just about saying, sorry. It's about showing you care enough to fix what's broken and keep the connection solid. But what happens when someone never takes accountability? Maybe they mess up, forgetting plans, saying something hurtful, but instead of owning it, they deflect, pointing fingers at you, or they blame you, twisting the situation to avoid responsibility. Or worse, they act like it didn't happen, leaving the issue hanging in the air like a storm cloud. That leaves you feeling unheard, like your perspective doesn't count, and over time, it erodes the foundation of your connection, turning closeness into a fragile shell. I've been in that frustrating spot myself. Pause. I had a partner once who'd always make excuses instead of apologizing. If they were late, it was somehow my fault for not reminding them, even though we'd agreed on the time. You should have texted me, they'd say, dodging any ownership. It drove me up the wall, because all I wanted was for them to own it so we could move forward, clear the air, and get back on track. But instead, I'd feel stuck, replaying the moment, wondering if I was the one overreacting. The excuses piled up, traffic, work, anything but a simple, I messed up, and it chipped away at my trust. The Stoics would say that's a big issue. Relationships should help you grow, offering a space to learn and improve together, not leave you stuck in a loop of misunderstandings and unresolved tension. So, what do you do when accountability disappears? The Stoics offer a practical path. Pause. Try talking it out. Set clear expectations about what accountability looks like. Maybe it's owning a mistake with a sincere apology or making an effort to change. Agree on it together, like a shared promise. I did that with my partner, sitting them down and saying, when you make excuses instead of owning it, it makes me feel like my feelings don't matter. Can we agree to just be honest when we mess up? They nodded, and for a bit, it helped. But if they can't step up, if the deflection or blame keeps coming, the Stoics would say it's time to walk away. It's not about giving up easily. It's about knowing you deserve relationships where both people show up fully, ready to take responsibility and build something real. Let's wrap this up with what it all means. Pause, because these struggles point to a bigger truth about living well, which we'll explore next. Choosing peace, Stoic style. We've covered a lot today. Pause, and I hope you're feeling empowered to take a closer look at the relationships in your life. The Stoics gave us a roadmap for living well, and a big part of that is surrounding ourselves with people who respect us, lift us up, and help us grow. These 12 signs, lack of respect, mental health struggles, clashing values, feeling drained, manipulation, broken trust, abuse, lack of growth, selfishness, toxic communication, ignored needs, and no accountability. They're like warning lights, telling you when a relationship might be pulling you away from the peace and virtue you deserve. I've had to make some tough calls myself, walking away from people I cared about because I knew they weren't good for me. It's not easy, but every time I've chosen my peace over a draining connection, I've felt lighter, stronger, more myself. That's what the Stoics want for us, a life where we're not just enduring, but thriving, surrounded by people who help us shine. So, take a moment to reflect. Are there relationships in your life that need a closer look? Maybe it's time for a hard conversation, or maybe it's time to let go with grace. Whatever you choose, know that you're not alone. We're on this journey together. Thanks for joining me today at Stoic Journal. It means so much to have you here, exploring this wisdom with me. If you found this helpful, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're navigating your relationships. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button so we can keep growing together. Let's keep choosing peace, living with courage, and building a life that feels truly good. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and stay true to you.